Here on the ground, change happens fast. Problems feel frequent and urgent. It's loud and anxiety runs high. From a satellite view, the Earth looks the same as it did thousands of years ago. We've been here before. Let's learn from our past and shoot for a better future.
Hello and welcome to this episode of A Satellite View. I'm Todd Mikkelson, your host, speaking at you from Monday, July 13th, 2026 in the space and time continuum. And of course, just things are getting crazy. They're getting crazy. And the week has scheduled things coming up, some of which are being affected by news that was just developing today that's going to make the week be crazy. So, crazy week coming up. And also craziness just behind us. Mitch McConnell, probably dead, maybe undead. Mitch McConnell's dead, undead. Donald Trump possibly undead. I don't know if he has been dead and they brought him back a couple times, or he could be dead at this moment. He sure sounded like he was dying this morning when he called into Fox News to talk about the guy who actually did die, Lindsey Graham. Wow. We all woke up yesterday to, no, not Mitch McConnell, no, not Donald Trump, Lindsey Graham. But everybody's been saying they come in threes. By the way, Mitch McConnell, released a photo of himself, and it's just obviously fake and stupid. That's supposed to be his proof of life to prevent Governor Andy Beshear from appointing somebody else to replace him. By the way, just maybe an hour or two before I started recording this show, and I'm recording this show a couple hours later because things just kept happening throughout the day, and I was like, okay, well, now I got to, put this in the mix. His little sister was just named as his replacement. She's got no experience in anything that makes her at all have the slightest right to be in Congress as a senator and then on these committees. But, they wanted to get her in there. They wanted to get somebody in there that was probably going to vote the same way as Lindsey was going to vote, because one of the scheduled things that's happening is Wednesday and Thursday, Todd Blanche's hearings in the Senate, because he's being put up as the AG. I don't think it's going to go well for him. It was going to maybe go worse because Lindsey Graham wasn't going to be there, but now his sister's going to be there, and I'm sure that they're just telling her to vote the same way he would. And we don't know. Lindsey Graham might not vote for Todd Blanche, but he probably would have, because any respectable things about Lindsey Graham disappeared 10 years ago. Ever since then, he's only been using his professional life to use part of Donald Trump's anatomy as a popsicle. That's all he's been doing. There were some words that I do want to talk about that were said by Hunter Biden about Lindsey Graham, who Lindsey Graham was a complete dick to Hunter Biden over the last few years. But Lindsey Graham used to be friends with Joe Biden. And Hunter Biden said, I prefer to remember the Lindsey Graham from before Trump, because I want to remember the America from before Trump, because I believe in the America after Trump. And that's where we need to go. And Hunter Biden's a bigger man than me, because I really don't have anything good to say about Lindsey Graham. Hunter Biden found it within himself to do so, and good for him. I have no tolerance for these other the people who just, you got to put out a statement because you're in Congress. Oh, I'll miss his sense of humor. He was a great guy, No, he wasn't. He was a hypocrite who tried to cover up the fact that he was gay when everyone knew he was gay, and he kept saying he wasn't gay. He was hiring trans women sex workers who are coming out in more stories, by the way, now. Horrible stories about back 10, 11 years ago when he was going to run for president. And the stories that these people were being threatened because they were coming out with these stories, because they were concerned about Lindsey Graham becoming president. And then Lindsey Graham being anti-LGBTQ, homophobic, voting against any legislation that would give them any kind of rights. So I really have nothing good to say about Lindsey Graham, but a really interesting thing about it, and then we're going to not talk about Lindsey Graham anymore, is you may have heard some people are talking about the possibility that he was poisoned. And the CIA back in the 70s had what they called, what was it called? The poison gun or something? They could actually use a regular gun to shoot a small, it was like a 1/4-inch piece of human hair size thing that they could shoot at somebody from like 300 yards away. And the person would kind of just like maybe feel like they got bit by a mosquito or something. So they wouldn't detect it. And what would it cause? Heart failure. Give you a heart attack. And there have been autopsies where they bring in botanists who know about plants that have agents in them that can do this to you. And also, like, there's jellyfish that have things like this that can do this to you. And they put that in this little projectile that they can shoot. It's a spy thing. It's a CIA thing. Of course, other countries have it. We've heard of Russia using it a lot, even in modern days. It sounds like a movie from the 60s, but... And Lindsey Graham, you know, he sounded like he was okay. And then he told some people, I'm kind of feeling weird. And they said, well, you should go to the doctor. And he said, I'll go to the doctor after I'm on TV tomorrow. And also really weird because the person who called 911 was like 90 miles away in Baltimore. And Lindsey was in his apartment by himself when they found him. How did this person in Baltimore know? So there's some weirdness going on. And in fact, the death certificate right now says that he had a history of cardiovascular disease. And they're not going to put out the final death certificate until there's more toxicology analysis and test results. So are they doing this kind of thing? Are they bringing botanists in? I don't know. And I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist. I kind of feel like it was his cardiovascular disease that gave him a heart attack. We know he's a heavy drinker. He's been shit-faced on TV many times over the last 10 years. You know he hates his life and he hates himself for all of his hypocrisy. Apparently, he hates himself for being gay. He hates himself for using Donald Trump's anatomy as a popsicle. He hates himself. He's got to have tons of stress. He knows the world hates him. And he was a heavy drinker at the very least. 71 years old, you already have a cardiovascular disease going on. I kind of feel like it was just what they're saying it is. Mitch McConnell, I don't believe a word they're saying about him. I think he's dead. I think he's been dead for a month. You know, this silly photo that he released as proof of life. You know, why is it not a video? Can you talk? And that photo is completely fake. Anyway, let's move on to other things. One story came out that Eric Trump, Barron and Eric started a new company. I think it had something to do with cryptocurrency or something. And it has lost like 90% of its value. They have lost $600 million for the Trump family. That's one thing that came up. Also, we know Elon Musk has lost, last I heard was maybe 2 weeks ago, he had lost $400 billion. Yes, $400 billion. That's almost half of his $1 trillion. So he became a trillionaire simply to demonstrate how much of a moron he is by losing. Now he's just got more money to lose. Like nobody's ever lost as much money as I have. Donald Trump used to be the one who lost the most, and now I beat him. I beat him to. Now I am the one who has squandered the most billions of anybody in the world ever. Another thing. Adweek is a publication that talks about ratings and things like that. We've heard of Nielsen ratings. So Adweek is citing Nielsen big data and panel numbers, who released their numbers over the last year, Fox News has lost 19% of its total viewers. And another important thing, the main demographic of the advertisers on Fox News, they have lost 43% of those viewers. Now, these advertisers are watching these numbers a lot closer than you and I are, because they want to decide whether they're going to keep spending millions of dollars advertising on Fox News. And that's how Fox News makes its money. If these advertisers are seeing, wow, they've lost 43% of my demographic, the people I wanted to talk to, that's why I thought it was worth spending the millions of dollars talking to those people. You've lost them. Are they going to lose money now? So in the last year, 43% of their main demographic for advertisers was lost. 19% total viewers lost. They seem to be going the same way as Donald Trump. And this is a main thing that I wanted to point out. Donald Trump also, yesterday or today, put out that I got a 59% approval. Many say 59%. I said it's 59%. They said 59%, and then I said it's 59%. I have a 59% approval rating because that's what, if you have an approval number and then it's 59%, then that's what I said. I have a 59% approval rating. Have you noticed that, how he repeats himself like that? And the Strait of Hormuz is closed. So I said, the Strait of Hormuz is closed. And then they said that Strait of Hormuz is closed. It's closed. So I said, Strait of Hormuz is closed. Anyway, Donald Trump tweeted, I'm just going to call it that because Truth Social, that's so stupid. 59% approval rating when we all know that it's more like 29% approval rating. I think it's officially 34%. So Donald Trump doesn't know what's going on. I think they're not telling him what's going on. I think he is not being told things like, pretty much all of our military bases have been blown up and are on fire in the Middle East. You know that we've got a lot more casualties than what they're saying. 13 people dead. I don't think Donald Trump knows that. I think Donald Trump thinks everything's going great. I think Donald Trump thinks he's got a 59% approval rating. And that's why he says the most crazy stuff. Like, for instance, he said, the President of the United States is going to address the nation at 9 o'clock on Thursday. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Everyone's saying that he's going to announce that there's proof that the 2020 election was tampered with by other countries, and that's going to lead him to declare a national emergency so that the federal government can take over elections. But it's not going to work. First of all, nobody's going to watch his fat, stupid ass on TV on Thursday night because everyone hates his fucking guts. He thinks 59% love him. I think he thinks 90% love him. But anyway, he's very delusional. He doesn't know what's going on, and that's why he thinks everything's going fine. That's also why he put up these things for Congress to pass. And this is a long list. I'll see if I can go through them kind of quick. Number 1, minting a $250 bill currency with Trump's portrait on it. Number 2, minting a $100 bill with Trump's portrait on it. 3, renaming Dulles International Airport to be the Donald J. Trump International Airport. 4, carve Donald Trump's likeness into Mount Rushmore. 5, create and award a Donald Trump Peace Prize inside the U.S. State Department. Next one, create a federal holiday for Donald Trump's birthday. Next one, award a congressional gold medal to Donald Trump. Next one, formally honor Donald Trump for achieving peace in the Middle East. These are things that he actually was expecting Congress to pass. Here's the next one, formally recognizing President Donald J. Trump's role as a transformational peacemaker whose achievements in international diplomacy merit the Nobel Peace Prize. The next one, order federal health officials to launch a formal study of Trump derangement syndrome. This is serious, all right? These were put on the floor today. Here's another one. Formally authorize construction of the Trump ballroom. Another one. A House resolution formally acknowledging the positive impact Donald J. Trump has had on America, which, of course, did not happen. He's had no positive, Anyway, that's part of the list of bills that were brought to the House floor because, yes, the House actually went back to work today, quote unquote work. They came back to D.C. and they're in session. And everything I just mentioned to you was put on the House floor today, and it all got thrown out. None of it passed. These were things put in, not just by Donald Trump, but they were put in by Congress people who are trying to get at the part of Donald Trump's anatomy that those type of people use as a popsicle. And they were putting those things on the House floor, all of which I mentioned were actually put on the House floor to be passed as into law, and none of them passed. None of them passed. That's the Trump derangement syndrome. If you want to do a study on Trump derangement syndrome, it's the same old thing. It's projection. Anyone who wants to use part of Donald Trump's anatomy as a popsicle has Donald Trump derangement syndrome. Jesus. Anyway. Yeah, we've got some fun things to talk about, though, coming up here. Very interesting news that just happened today that will affect things going on throughout the week. And let's take a short break and come back and talk about those things. You're listening to A Satellite View. We'll be right back. Back on A Satellite View. Find our website, satelliteviewpodcast.com. Find our YouTube channel by going to YouTube and search for Satellite View Podcast. And then when you're on the channel, subscribe. It's free to subscribe. And you can find me at Todd Mikkelson on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky. And you can find our Facebook page at Mikkelson Politics. Here's something that I think is pretty huge, and I'm going to read to you from the Parnes perspective, put out by Aaron Parnes. This is his Substack, and he's a great news source. If you want to find him on YouTube as well, Aaron Parnes, AARON, PARNAS. He does concise, up-to-the-minute reports all day long, really. He synopsizes this story, I think, well here, but it's a pretty big story. A federal judge has delivered a sweeping rebuke of President Donald Trump's lawsuit against the Internal Revenue Service, ruling that the case never presented a legitimate legal controversy, voiding the purported settlement that would have created the $1.776 billion anti-weaponization fund. Now, I'll break it down for you a little bit. Remember, Donald Trump was going to sue the IRS for $10 billion because somebody released part of his taxes back in 2020, I think it was. So now Donald Trump is suing his own DOJ, which the IRS is part of. You can't really do that. And that this judge is saying that. Now, within that $10 billion was going to be the you've heard $1.8 billion that was going to be paid to the January 6th terrorists. They were calling it the Anti-Weaponization Fund. It also included the IRS deal to protect Trump's family. Here, we'll get into it here. In a blistering 56-page order issued Monday, U.S. District Judge Kathleen Williams concluded that the lawsuit was brought for an improper purpose and that the parties sought to use the federal court to confer judicial legitimacy on an agreement that lacked any legal foundation. Quote, the court finds that this matter was brought for an improper purpose to gain the something of judicial legitimacy for a settlement that had no viable basis in law or fact. basically there was never a lawsuit. At the heart of Judge Williams' decision is a constitutional finding that there was never an actual case or controversy as required under Article 3 of the Constitution. The judge found that because President Trump, as head of the executive branch, ultimately controlled the agencies he sued, which was the Treasury Department and the IRS, the parties were never genuinely adverse. She's basically saying that they went in together to just gain money. Williams wrote that the litigation amounted to one side effectively controlling both plaintiff and defendant. Kind of what I'm trying to explain there. Also, the $1.8 billion fund has been nullified. In addition to nullifying the settlement, Judge Williams imposed Rule 11 sanctions related to the litigation and referred one of Trump's attorneys for possible professional discipline. And also, Todd Blanche, she is basically telling the bar that he's got to be looked into. According to the judge, Blanche's public comments demonstrated his confidence that he could speak for and bind both sides of the matter. This certitude supports the conclusion that the parties worked in tandem, never adverse. It also specifically blasts Blanche and sends the order to the New York State Bar. That was Blanche's later public statement that an anti-weaponization fund would not be moving forward. That's what she's actually bringing. That needs to go to the New York State Bar. He could be disbarred. And this happened this morning because the judge wanted to do it before Wednesday, which is the first day that Todd Blanche is coming up before the Senate committee, one of the committees that, of course, now Lindsey Graham's sister is going to be sitting on. And nobody knows that Todd Blanche is going to make it out of that committee. And this is for Todd Blanche to become the permanent attorney general, to be, put forth to the Senate and voted on. But he's first got to get voted on in this committee where there's going to be a hearing. And the Democrats want to know about this, and the Democrats want to know about the Epstein files. There is a lot going on with the Epstein files, partially because of Todd Blanche being put up as the attorney general. So a lot of craziness going on coming up this week. Oh, also, Donald Trump sent people to the houses of journalists who wrote a story about the airplane, the new Qatari airplane, not being safe enough for Trump to travel in. That's something that also happened, and I think that the Democrats are going to want to know what's going on there. Todd Blanche, when he was approved to be the deputy attorney general, said that by no means should there ever be politics mixed with what he's doing at the DOJ. And he broke his word to all of them. Broke his word to them. Covering up a lot of things going on in the war. We talked about that. I think they're also covering it up to Donald Trump to make him think that everything's going well there. Donald Trump, who apparently went back to the hospital, that he announced himself, I just did another round at Walter Reed, and he's a great guy. I never met him, but he's a great guy. Walter. We call him Walter. I said, I'm going to call you Walter. Walter Reed. He's got a great hospital. I went there, and I did another cognitive test, and I aced something nobody else could do. I've done it many times. The doctor said, you got to do another cognitive test because we love to see Trump ace those tests, and nobody else could do it. I said nobody else could do it, so they said, and because nobody else could do it, so I said nobody else could. Can't do that anymore. But here's another interesting thing coming out. The CIA seems to be turning on Donald Trump over a lot of this stuff, including the war. For instance, from the CIA, leaked, a U.S. Joint Special Operations Command Task Force has been deployed for 3 months to the Middle East, standing by to recover Iran's highly enriched uranium. The plan was to extract the uranium and bring it to a lab in the UK. But then they all realized this could very well cost 60 to 90 lives from that Joint Special Operations Command. So they changed their mind. And now slowly they've been coming back home. The CIA leaked that to the public. An embarrassing thing about the Trump administration. Leaked! Trump administration believes a nuclear deal is not going to happen. That was leaked by somebody in the CIA. You know, they keep saying they can't have a nuclear. Yeah, I can't do that anymore. That's the main claim. And apparently the Trump administration themselves know that's unrealistic. Also, the CIA leaked Israel telling Trump Iran's trying to assassinate him was just a ploy to try and get Trump to go all in on the war. It's not true. There's not a huge plot for Iran to assassinate Donald Trump. But Netanyahu says, oh, this would be perfect. We tell this to Donald Trump. He thinks he's so self-important, everybody's trying to assassinate him, even though all the assassination attempts have been proven to be fake pretty much. And if we tell him that Iran's trying to assassinate him, we can get him to, do more of the war. That's also part of the embarrassment of him not being able to use the Qatari plane and having that come out as public. Donald Trump putting up some stupid side story about that nobody believed. And then also CIA leaked. An internal report says that agents have been pressured by the Trump administration in this second time around. They've been pressured to lie. That's why so many of them have been getting fired, because they refuse to lie. If you don't lie, you're fired. These are all things that were leaked. This internal report. So the CIA is trying to make sure that the country and the world knows that it doesn't approve of Donald Trump. So what's going on in the military, within the military as well? Maybe they're not up to leaking as much yet, but also, did I say Barron and Eric Trump founded a crypto company, or I think it was, and it has lost apparently 90% of its value, and they have lost $600 million for the Trump family. That's information that came out this week as well. There's a chance Andy Beshear, the governor of Kentucky, he's looking into appointing a Democrat to just take Mitch's place, because he's saying, yeah, we need better proof of life from Mitch, because right now, I'm the governor. There's some complications I'm not going to go into right now. But another thing that I wanted to make sure that you knew, with this Graham Plattner thing in Maine and everybody being all scared, and the Democrats are all scared, like, now what are we going to do? Oh my God, Susan Collins is going to win again. No, I'm telling you, my dog Tucker in this race in this coming November would beat Susan Collins. And Tucker died in March. He still would win this election. All right? We got to stop being scared and just stay on it. The Republicans are doing everything they can to mess around with the elections and cheat. We've got to stay on it. We've got to help your local candidates, go door knocking for them, do all the things, and then vote. If we all vote, they can't cheat enough to overwhelm our vote. Elon Musk, I think, first of all, he hasn't shown his face anywhere for months now. He's embarrassed. He knows the world hates him. He thought in 2024, I will help Trump, and then I can take over the world. How did that go, Elon? Now the world hates you. They didn't used to hate you. When I bought my Tesla in December of 2020, I didn't hate Elon Musk. I didn't like him. I knew he was an idiot. But I just didn't think about him. Now, I don't refer to my car as a Tesla anymore. I refer to it as an electric vehicle. Because I know the world hates Elon Musk. So Elon Musk was like, I'm not going to help you again. Why would I? It made everyone hate me before. So why would I, I would rather be the person who's lost the most money in the world. I beat Donald Trump at that. So I'm just going to stay there. So I don't think Elon Musk is going to be a part of this. And I also don't think Elon Musk's methods can affect the thousands and thousands of separate elections going on. He could affect a few of them in the presidential election, the main one being the presidential election between only two people. But doing this Starlink trick that I am 100, by the way, % sure he did in 2024, I don't think he can do that to every single election in every single town in every state in the whole country. So if we vote, we win. Susan Collins is not going, but even just today, because of ICE murdering another citizen in a town in Maine, protests broke out in Maine just kind of the same way they did here in Minneapolis when ICE murdered citizens here 2 times. These protesters went to Susan Collins' office, surrounded it, and were yelling, "Vote her out, vote her out." They hate her. So everybody who's scared about, do we have the right candidate here? Are we doing the right thing? Oh my God, we need to win this seat. If we don't win this seat, we're not going to win the majority. Stop it. Stop it. Don't give them your fear. Just stop it. Just do the things, man. Let's keep doing the things. If we stay together, we'll keep each other sane. Donald Trump's antics that he's going to try and pull on Thursday are not going to work because 59% approval rating he does not have. He's going down. And by the way, everybody's talking about they come in threes. Mitch McConnell, UnDead. Lindsey Graham, dead. Donald Trump, somewhere in between the two. What news are we going to wake up to tomorrow morning or the next morning about who died this time? Anyway, I think that's about it. It's getting crazy, and I didn't even report on all the things that are ramping up to be crazy this week. But I think it's going to be fun. I of course am feeling very optimistic, and but I hear on mainstream media, even just MS Now, which used to be MSNBC, I hear about them making a big deal out of this Graham Plattner thing, and it's Graham Plattner himself said it's not the person. The person doesn't matter. It's the movement. The movement is going to go on without Graham Plattner. Graham Plattner turned out to be a lying asshole. All right, he's gone now. Stop talking about him. Get the new person in there. It sounds like they might have a couple good choices. The head of the some committee or part of the Democratic Party in Maine looks to be like an extremely competent woman who's got it going. She's put out a statement that makes me go, okay, she's got this. So let's manifest the reality we want. Stop thinking bad things. All right? Think good things to come. We're building our new world, and we're sticking together doing it. So let's keep it together. I'll take care of you. You take care of me. Thank you so much for being here. You help me a lot. Enjoy your life. Be with the people who are important to you. Be with the people you want to be with. Play the trombone, play the guitar, play your piano, play your synthesizer, play your whatever instrument you play. Play a sports game if that's what you like to do. Get out and enjoy the weather. It's good to sometimes walk barefoot on planet Earth. You absorb the positive energy. Again, thank you for listening all the way to the end so much. I will speak at you next week.
You've been listening to A Satellite View with Todd Mikkelson. Go to toddmikkelson.com for links and more information.